It's no secret to anyone that many world governments keep loads of information from their citizens. This information could oftentimes simply detail specific military maneuvers, though at times it's exposed a full-blown cover-up of some pretty disturbing government procedures. Number 5. Prism was the name given to an NSA effort in which the United States gathered all internet communications from 9 major US-based companies. Edward Snowden, a former CIA employee, unexpectedly left the CIA after leaking much of the information gathered through Prism efforts to the public. Snowden now faces espionage charges for his actions, though he's since fled to Russia where he intends to reside indefinitely. News of the NSA's efforts broke in 2013 after a newspaper reported that the NSA had been collecting private phone data from tens of millions of Americans without their knowledge. Apparently, they had received a secretive court order that required the cell phone company Verizon to hand over all of its user data to the NSA on a daily basis, with Verizon being unable to make this leak public. After this article had been published, numerous others flooded in, claiming that the NSA had been wiretapping into the internet connections of major companies, such as Facebook, Google, Microsoft, and Yahoo, in order to keep tabs on their customers. It was later also alleged that the United States was not the only country involved in this. In fact, it's widely believed that the Britain company known as GCHQ was also involved, and working hand in hand with the NSA to gather and share information with each other. Shortly after this, it was revealed to the media that Edward Snowden was behind the leaks. He was then charged with theft of government property, unauthorized communication of national defense information, and willful communication of classified documents. Snowden initially fled to Hong Kong, where he claimed that the NSA had begun over 61,000 hacking operations worldwide, including the Chinese university system as well as Chinese government officials and businesses. Claims were later published stating that information on the European Union was also being gathered, and that up to 27 officials were being spied on and targeted. Apparently, the files claimed that the NSA had led an illegal eavesdropping operation near Brussels, which was home to multiple European Council members. Shortly after this, it was revealed that the Germans were also being targeted and spied on as well. After these reports came to light, the German ambassador requested a private conference with the US ambassador, a very unusual move. German Chancellor Angela Merkel, who was one of the main victims in this case against the Germans, then phoned President Barack Obama directly, to which he assured her that their phones would no longer be tapped in the future, but would not deny that the phones were tapped in the first place. A news article later published that the NSA had wiretapped a total of 25 world leaders. These are just a handful of very serious allegations against the NSA. The list of those affected is seemingly infinite, and it's disturbing exactly how many people were affected by this effort over such a long span of time, and none of them had any knowledge of it whatsoever. Number 4. In 2016, a massive series of documents dubbed the Panama Papers were leaked to the public. This is a collection of over 11.5 million files that were taken from the world's 4th largest law firm. The records are known to have been originally hacked from Germany, though no one knows exactly who was in charge of this operation, so no charges have been filed. To this day, the Panama Papers remain one of the largest information leaks in US history. In the documents, there are numerous details on exactly how many of the world's elite avoid the tax system and instead exploit offshore tax regimes. In total, 143 politicians were alleged to have been partaking in this, with 12 of them being world leaders. In one of the most shocking reveals, Russia appears to be at the forefront of these allegations, with documents detailing up to $2 billion of funds that had been hidden in an offshore ski resort, where Russian President Vladimir Putin's daughter was actually married in 2013. Others that were revealed to be a part of this act include Pakistan Prime Minister, as well as British Prime Minister David Cameron. Now, while this all may seem illegal, it actually isn't. In most countries, storing money in offshore accounts is perfectly legal, and it's a tactic used by many of the elite. It's certainly frowned upon and definitely immoral. However, there aren't really any charges that can be placed against any of these individuals that are part of these actions. Number 3. In the 1950s and 60s, the CIA implemented a program dubbed psychic driving, in which patients were to be subjected to repeated audio messages that were looped indefinitely. A classic mind control tactic, and in fact, this effort actually tied in closely with the US's notorious MK Ultra mind control program. In this psychic driving program, patients were to be shown hundreds of thousands of repetitions of a single statement over the course of their treatment. They were also administered sedatives that would keep them aware but incapacitated over the course of their time there. The procedure was actually a follow-up to previous tests done, in which electroshock therapy was combined with LSD in an attempt to break down a person's personality. Psychic driving was intended to produce the same result. The theory was that these individuals would have their personalities essentially reset in order to create an entirely new one. The intent for these individuals remains unknown, though with the CIA being involved, we can assume it wasn't for anything good. By the time the information leaked about what these patients were being put through, the CIA had discontinued the program, and to this day, psychic driving as well as MK Ultra remain one of the biggest scars on American history. Number 2. Anat Kam was an Israeli woman who was outed for copying thousands of highly classified documents during her time as an Israeli soldier. She compiled these documents over the course of a few years, and by the time her work as a soldier was completed, she placed the files on a CD and leaked it to an Israeli journalist to release it to the public. Kam was eventually charged with espionage. According to the information provided in the leak, the Israeli military had been defying a ruling put into place by the Supreme Court of Israel, which warned against assassinating uncompliant soldiers who could have simply been arrested instead. According to the charges placed against Kam, she had copied over 2,000 illegal documents during her service as a soldier. According to the Israeli law enforcement, the documents included operational military information, security and situation assessments, meetings, intelligence information, orders of battle deployment, drill briefings, and even warfare doctrines. Rather shockingly, after all of this, Kam was only sentenced to just over 4 years in prison and was released in January of 2014. The journalist whom she worked with in order to get the information to the public was only sentenced to 4 months of community service. Number 1. The most shocking information from this list may be one titled the Stargate Project, in which the US Army investigated the possibility of psychics being used in military intelligence applications. The effort was established in 1978 at Fort Meade in Maryland and was put into action by the DIA, or Defense Intelligence Agency. One of the main psychics investigated during this project was Uri Geller, who was summoned to the fort for a series of tests to see exactly how accurate his psychic predictions truly were. During these tests, Uri was placed in a sealed room, which was being closely monitored. The test involved a series of drawings. The investigators would choose a word at random from the dictionary, draw that object, then tape it to the outside wall of Geller's cell. He would then be informed through an intercom when the drawing was completed. It was Geller's job to then recreate these drawings using only his telepathic capabilities, and get them as close to the original as possible. Most of Geller's results were eerily similar to the CIA drawings. Take a look. The researchers concluded that Uri, quote, demonstrated his paranormal perceptual ability in a convincing and unambiguous manner. However, this isn't the end of Uri's story. In fact, Uri revealed back in 2013 that he was eventually employed as a spy for both the CIA and Israel because of his abilities, and that his public psychic abilities were simply a cover. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked this video, be sure to click that like button. Also, don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell to keep updated with our videos.